Hey there and welcome to this episode. Recently we've been talking about debt, and in this particular episode I want to talk to you about a simple process for getting out of debt, okay? You know, debt's something that bothers a lot of people. You know, we find ourselves a bit trapped by it. You know, it consumes a lot of our monthly cash flow. And so what I want to offer here is a simple process for you getting out of debt. So the first thing I'd like you to do though is literally to write down all your debts. Now the common ones of course are, you know, a mortgage, a car loan, credit cards, personal loans. They're the really common ones. We want to write them all down. We want to write down some specific things here though. We want to write down how much do we owe, what are our monthly repayments, and in particular we want to write down what the interest rate is. We want to know how much interest we're paying on these debts. Okay, that's the first step. Step two is we then want to put them in an order. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to put them in an order of highest interest rate down to lowest interest rate. And very simple logic behind this is we want to pay off the high interest rate debts first and the low interest rate debts second. Now that would seem obvious of course because the high interest rate debts are the ones costing you more. But there's a second benefit here is generally high interest rate debts like credit cards etc. are smaller, and the big ones are the low interest rate debts like your mortgage, you know, a couple $100,000. Now the benefit of doing this is we want to have a sense of achievement, you know. I want to encourage you as the next step, which is to do a budget and work out how much extra repayments you can make. And then we want to pay off those high interest rate debt first, like your credit card, and then start getting rid of them. I would really encourage you to cut up the credit card and move to what we call a debit card. Most banks will offer you a Visa debit card where you can still do all your online transactions, any online activity that you need, and effectively have no credit card debt. Now, sure, some of us are responsible and can pay off a credit card in full each month, in which case that's okay, but nonetheless, there are usually fees associated with credit cards, you know, annual fees of $150 and so forth. You'll find that those things are generally a waste of money. They're usually, the benefits that you get from them in points programs are generally not worth the fees you're paying. So can I really encourage you to go debt-free and have no credit card? Okay, so anyway, that's step two, okay? So we put them in order of what we're going to repay them. The third thing, as I mentioned before, is do a budget. And the idea of doing a budget is to work out what your surplus cash flow is. How much money is coming into your house in the form of income, okay, your salary or wage, etc., versus how much is going out in expenses. The difference left over is your surplus, okay? Now, if you're in deficit, it means you're getting into more and more debt every month. And we don't want you in deficit. We want to be able to cut back on any expenses so you're in surplus. Now once we know our surplus, we can then make additional repayments against our debts to repay them as quick as possible. Okay, so for example, you might be able to save $500 a month, that's your surplus, and then you think, right, I'll put that against my credit card until my credit card's gone. Once that's gone, I'll put it against my personal loans and so forth, and you work your way down through the high interest rate debts down to the low interest rate debts. That's the key thing here, have a good, clear process. The next thing we want to do, particularly as we do our budget, is we want to look to cut out any waste, okay? You know, when it comes to budgeting, there's more than likely you'll find things in there that you don't use that much, or maybe it's not adding any value to your life, so you can cut that expense out, and that's extra surplus that you then have available to pay down your debts, okay? So that's a simple, clear process for you to do to start chipping away at your debts and paying it down as quick as possible. And lastly, what I want you to do is to commit it to God, okay? Make sure you're asking God, hey God, I need your help here, you know, I've got myself into a bit of a pickle, I want to get out of it. So God, can you please help me pay down my debts? So thanks for watching, I hope that's been really helpful to you. God bless.